Well, Pallinghurst, the mining private equity group with stakes in the platinum, steel, feeds, gemstone and luxury goods industry, says it's on track to produce 250,000 ounces of platinum group metals next year. Earlier I spoke to CEO Arne Frandsen about the group's progress since it was formed 3 years ago.
We've been very focused, Stephen, as you know, on those 4 platforms, and platinum, as you said, is maybe the one that we have made the biggest steps forward. We have secured a significant stake in Platinum. We have secured stakes in 2 neighboring properties as well. So I guess all in all, we are sitting on a portfolio of near production and in production assets, which will lead us to producing next year 250,000 ounces and hopefully be able to quadruple that within the next 5 years.
Are you confident of the progress you will make to getting that 250,000 ounces next year? And also just tell us about the 2 other stakes you have taken. Well, I think one of those is the Cedro Bello project, which is right next door to Platinum in the Pilanesberg.
If you look at Platinum first, it is a startup, it's ramping up at this point in time. It's always difficult to say what's underneath the ground. I mean, that's what the fascination about mining is to a large extent, that you have a bankable feasibility study, you go ahead and everything looks until now according to our bankable feasibility study. So the next year is really ramping up on that property. So management's focus is 100% on delivering those 250,000 ounces. As you said correctly, we have secured a stake in the neighboring property, and together with our partners, the Bahatla community, we own 100% of that asset, together with, if you add the 10% that Platinum has purchased. And then you go to the next property, which is Magasinskral, which again, we together with the Bahatla owns 80% of. So if you put those properties together and you look at them maybe more like God's mining engineer and mine it as one area, you really have a world-class asset suite, which we are very excited about.
Would you look at perhaps growing your stakes in those 2 projects which are next door to Platinum's project there? You did recently get an injection from a Dutch pension fund. Would you be using some of that cash perhaps to grow those projects? We
have actually already now with our partners, the Bahatla, we own 80% and 100% of those projects. So we are very comfortable where we sit now. In respect of the pension funds money, yes, they're very excited like we are about the prospect of our platinum business. Consolidation among the junior platinum miners, is this something you could participate in there? Is this something you're looking at? Well, I think our first thing is to deliver to our shareholders a company that's producing 250,000 ounces. I think the key thing is that there's a lot of people who wants to be platinum producers, but there are actually very few platinum producers. There are a lot of juniors have fallen by the wayside here now due to the financial crisis, and there's even a bigger portion that will be struggling in raising capital. So for us, being debt-free, unhedged, and we just raised $385 million for our company, we believe that puts us in a very nice position, and we will focus on what comes around the next corner, but we would like to come around the corner being a producer. Well, you talked about the financial crisis and companies perhaps falling by the wayside during that financial crisis. How confident is Pallinghurst that the financial crisis is behind us, that we're not going to look at more growth constraints going forward, or perhaps face a double-dip recession? I think what is you say, you fear for the worst in that respect. I think it would not be prudent to have a capital structure which wouldn't allow for survival during a double dip. That's why we have no debt. We are unhedged and we are funded with equity. Others have taken another route. I think that it is prudent and to be somewhat conservative. Hard rock mining is difficult business. Your outlook for metals going forward from here, because there is concern perhaps that growth in China is starting to slow down a little bit, and that could put pressure on metal prices going forward. What's your forecast or outlook? Well, one thing I learned from my chairman is that one should never forecast commodity prices because you can only get it wrong. And I mean, Brian has been 40 years in industry and he will refrain from doing so, and for good reasons. I think that I would much rather look at just look at the demand side. China is maybe not growing 10%, it might only grow 5 or 6. But the size of the Chinese economy is so big at this point in time that they will use platinum, they will use steel feed materials. And I mean, last year 51% of all steel was used within the Chinese borders. Well, you mentioned growth of your platinum portfolio perhaps beyond the 250,000 ounces that you are targeting for next year.
Where's that growth going to come from?
It's really going to come from the neighboring properties. And the Cerebello property, a bankable feasibility study has already been completed, so it's ready to go. And the next property, we are in the middle of doing the drilling for our bankable feasibility study there. So we have a nice suite of projects that are kind of like coming after each other over the next 2 to 3 years, and where we'll use the cash flow generated from the one to develop the next. So in a way, it's like good old family business philosophy. We are not taking a mortgage out on the house to build a granny flat. We are actually using the money that we are making.
Your own stake in the Cerebello project, that's 10%, isn't it? And the Bachatla has the other 90%.
Yes, I mean, but we have an agreement with the Bachatla that the 90% goes in to our joint venture, and we're just finalizing prices at this point in time. So we de facto owns 45% of that asset.
Just looking at your greater portfolio, you have a number of companies. So there's the platinum, you have steel feeds, coloured gemstones, Fabergé. How do they all tie together? Why that collection of companies?
Well, our philosophy is to look for unloved assets in an exciting industry or exciting assets in unloved industry. And all of them are assets that we believe that by acting actively and developing and giving strategic focus to those assets, we can create a lot of value. I mean, if you look at the gemstones business, we're very excited about that. We're trying to do maybe a little what De Beers did for diamonds, we're trying to do for colored gemstones. Steel feed, as we know, no growth without steel. And steel is being produced by iron ore, coking coal, and manganese. And those are the areas we are looking at. So even if we have a double dip or whatever we have, China is still every quarter building a city of the size of Philadelphia.
Would you look at expansion perhaps beyond those 4 sectors?
One should never say never, but I think the key thing for us is to now take them up the value curve, the 4 of them. But if someone shows me nice coking coal or copper project, I will surely look at it.
Are any prospects? And I mean, last year you did turn profitable, and I know you're probably in a closed period at the moment. I mean, do you see a continuation of the progress that has been made over the past year?
No, absolutely. I mean, for us, it's about generating NAV initially. It's about driving our portfolio of assets up the value curve. It's something that we feel very comfortable doing, and it's something that we like doing. And our focus is single-heartedly in driving all of our 4 platforms up that curve and creating value for our shareholders.